Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Strange Origins podcast. This is episode 45. It's a very special
Hello,
episode.
hello, hello, hello.
We have joined by a good guest, just a good guest, no, not anything else. It's
Oh,
my brother James. Round of applause for
Hello.
everyone.
I'll take good guest. I'll go with
Yeah,
that.
well, it's like a very rare guest because we haven't had that many. So,
yeah. I mean, yeah.
um, but this one's going to be a special episode about the Olympics. He's a resident
Yay!
expert on the Olympics. That's why I even know what it is because
Like,
he doesn't shout about it.
I'm curious how much knowledge you know about this.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, he's obsessed.
Alright,
But,
damn.
we're going to talk about the Tokyo Olympics because it is currently going on. So, I mean, it was meant to be the 2020 Olympics, right?
Yeah, but it's here at long last. Yeah, the a year delayed. Some saying perhaps it might not have been a good idea to actually even host it now because of the situation in Tokyo. There's still a state of emergency. There's still lots of restrictions and rising cases
Yeah.
over there. So it's quite difficult for the organisers to actually try and balance what is 30-odd world competitions in sport
Right,
again. A massive backlash of public opinion who don't want anyone sort of effectively flying in and bringing in potentially new variants and stuff. It's all the
Yeah.
same problem we have over here, really.
Well, yeah. I mean, currently the state of emergency got extended, didn't it? It got like
During the Olympics, so it's after the opening ceremonies happened that they've already extended it to, I think, the same sort of areas and for a longer period of time as well. So it's starting to be a bit of a hairy situation over there. That said, the number of cases and deaths and things like that are high for Japan rather than high by, say, the UK standards or other Europeans.
okay,
It's not.
so it's just like relative. It's
Yeah,
high.
Okay.
I'm remembering. I don't know what Japan's population is either, but it's in comparison to our case rates in the UK and in other developed nations. It's not. I don't think it's as high as elsewhere.
Well,
It's an emergency for them.
yeah, I'm not gonna like belittle anyone's knowledge and go. So what is the Olympics or anything like that? We all know what the Olympics is. I
I
assume.
mean, what is the Olympics?
Shut up. When did it start? Like, when was the first like official, I guess, modern day Olympics? Because I know there was the classical Olympics.
Yeah,
in
you had the
Athens.
classical Olympics, and that was you're going back to the ancient Greek
Yeah.
era of that time. But if you're talking modern Olympics, you're looking at 1896.
1896. Damn.
That was the first one, and that was in Athens.
Oh, okay.
And,
Well,
which is sort
makes
of
sense.
understandable.
Yeah.
Was different. What's probably a lot of people don't know about it as well is that it wasn't just sport back then as well. So they had other arty sort of competitions. So there were competitions in painting, for example, and
That would be
literature and
nice.
things like that. It was very cultural rather than
Yeah.
rather than sports, and being the best at running or jumping or rowing.
Yeah. I think
Um,
like the earliest Olympics I can remember anyway was Athens. I think it was like 2004.
Well done. Yeah.
Damn.
But yeah, that's the only Olympics the earliest Olympics I can remember from
Mhm.
watching anyway, and that's the one I remember the most hype about.
Yeah.
Rod just looks clueless. It looks like you
I
don't
mean,
even like remember anything.
It's just no, it's like I started that don't remember. It's just I never fully like got into it. It's only like certain sections like the sprinting or like the boxing. That was only the two things that
Yeah.
I've
Well,
only
that's-
like interested
That's an
me. That's
interesting
pretty much it.
topic because like you're saying I never really got into it. Like
Yeah.
I've always kind of been interested in why James like you got interested in the Olympics at all. Like it was like kind of so for me living with you anyway, it was kind of like a weird curveball. You know?
Yeah.
It didn't I didn't understand like the sudden I'm gonna call it obsession. Like with Olympics, like it was like quite a big thing. So why is that?
I mean, yeah, and that, and not also forgetting the fact that back then I was probably like 20 stone, so I had no interest in sport whatsoever.
Well, yeah.
What is this? Yeah, I think I think it sort of stems from that whole idea of it being a set piece event and it being like something that is where everyone comes together for one focal point.
Hmm.
And it's probably very similar to my obsession with the Eurovision Song Contest that you also have
Yeah.
suffered when we've lived together.
Yeah.
It's like that whole idea of nations coming together to do essentially the same thing. And I think it's that sense of unity and purpose and the striving to do better and hard. You know, the Olympic slogan being like faster, higher, stronger, to try and advance yourself as a race.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why
okay.
I've never made that connection. I guess between like the Eurovision and the Olympics, like I've never really drawn the comparison between both.
Basically, if there's any competitions where there's like countries come together to compete for something, Euros, World Cup.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say World Cup as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I'm there.
Just like the best of the best, basically. So,
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna go on to as well, because I thought like I've always liked watching the Olympics when we can, because obviously the Japan one is kind of like the time zone is kind of weird, but and the Rio one I just felt like kind of fell off the radar. Like to me, I didn't even know it happened, like because it was just such a different like time zone. I didn't even care really. So
same.
when that like was going on, like it kind of just showed me like the best of the best, and especially in terms of like certain sports, like. It was like, for me, it was really fun to watch because I got to see like everyone coming around to compete for this, you know?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, football, because back then I was into football and stuff. So it was kind of like, watching that, like everyone's come together to be the best of something. But these were like quite like heroic, like sports. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like javelin and discus.
When they come back, they're revered as like these amazing superhumans who've like gone.
I mean, they're called Olympians, which is quite a big title in itself. Like, do you know what I mean?
Already on that pedestal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say like, because I think in South Korea, it's like, I don't know if this was true or what. My fiance just told me this. Like, if you apparently win a gold medal, you don't like, as a male, you don't have to serve in the army.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true. That's true.
I think I've heard that as well.
Yeah, and in football as well, I think there was who's the guy who plays for Spurs? Son.
Son.
Son, yeah.
Sorry, and he was able to get a sort of not have to do his national service if his country won the Asian Cup. I think it was.
It's weird. It's only about if you win, like not if you compete. It's quite strange because I know there's another one that it's probably outside of your world, James, but there's a guy called Faker, who plays League of Legends competitively, like sports, like esports. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure he didn't have to serve for. I'm
not sure.
It was either he didn't have to serve or it got delayed, because they do that. They also delay it, so you have to do it later on. But he was. I mean, he's young. He's like, what's he now? Probably like 24.
He's like younger than us. Yeah.
So,
way younger than us.
But
So
he started when he was 18 doing it.
It's got a long way to go.
Yeah, but it is interesting that they're sort of valuing, the winning edge, and I guess that brings on to the next point of like, I mean, the people. I'm pretty sure that like the country that's, I'm gonna say winning the Olympics, because it is like they have a table of medals of who's winning, like, and it's China, right?
It is, depending on how you count it. If you're American, it's America.
Of course it is.
So America are very crafty with how they do the medal table. So most countries do it by number of golds, the highest number of golds, and then if you're tied on number of golds, and it's numbers of silvers and then bronze. America just do total medals.
That doesn't even work, because like you could just funnel 100 athletes into loads of different sports, and then you'd get loads of medals.
Yeah.
Like,
but that doesn't matter when it means that the US are going to be top. There's a whole national pride thing with America.
Oh my God, it's so stupid.
They probably send one of the largest teams to the Olympics.
I'm like Olympic bus must be like massive.
It's like 3 buses of just athletes.
I mean, because you compare it to some countries like Iran and the Philippines and stuff like that don't actually send that many athletes, but they still manage to win. It should be like the conversion rate is what it should be like measured on. Like if you only send 5 athletes and you win 1 gold, you're doing pretty well in terms of percentage.
Yeah. Medals per 1,000 or something like that.
Like rather than just casting your net into the ocean and hoping you catch a fish. Like, I mean, they have dominated some sports though, America. Like I'm pretty sure swimming they were dominant. Michael Phelps, that famous photo of him like with the loads of gold medals hanging around his like neck. Like, but I don't think they dominate that anymore, do they?
Well, GB have done very well this year, so they've won the most swimming medals I think ever in the modern era.
Which we should be getting from living in an island, They
were sailing and rowing, but rowing wasn't a very good year for GB.
Really?
I don't want many medals at all there, considering the amount of money that's gone into it.
Yeah.
So UK sport like put in millions into rowing for this Olympic cycle 4 years, and I think they haven't returned much at all. Whereas BMX, where we've won 2 or 3 medals, a couple of them gold, and the poor people who've been doing it have been crowdfunding their.
Yeah, I've heard about that. So, was it even Americans? Like they haven't been pay the government or anyone around them doesn't pay for their travel or anything like that. They've had to crowdfund their travel to the Olympics, like which is insane. Right?
I'm confused here. So is BMX part of Olympics now?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Old
my
man
God.
Rob.
Sorry, it's just I thought it's just like part of
Well,
as an X sport, right?
No,
Extreme
like
sport.
a new one as well. It's skateboarding. It's now in the Olympics.
Oh,
And there's rock climbing coming up soon as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Well, they're calling it sport climbing, but yeah, that's coming up soon. There's 3 different events in that, and there's karate as well.
It is quite funny that like the new event that they added, which is skateboarding this year, right? It's the first year they did it,
Yes. Yeah.
and Japan won it. It's just like because they are good at it.
The one that narrowly missed out was e-gaming, esports.
I know. I saw the petitions for that actually because
Yeah.
I think it's not the right time to put esports in there yet. It personally, even coming from a gamer, I don't think it's the right time to put games in yet. There'll be too many people going like, "This isn't sports. Fuck you."
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, we all know who's gonna win anyway when it comes to esports. So
yeah, I mean, it would be
there's,
great.
there's no debating about it. So there's no point.
But what about you? What do you think, James? Like, do you think esports should be in the Olympics?
I think there's certainly a case for it. It's just there's a lot of variables when it comes to esports. So you need to think about the sort of what sort of thing is going to be wanted on a screen in terms of what game you're going to play,
and how you make it a spectacle.
Yeah, what are the parameters and that sort of thing. Given that you don't necessarily, this Olympics has proven you don't really need a crowd, considering there's no one in the arena, and there's no problem with that. But I think there's a lot of variables with esports that are perhaps not there with other sports.
I don't think it comes from a place of tickets, because esports continuously sell out stadiums like all the time. Yeah. But Rod and I would probably think it would be something like League of Legends, the game, but it probably won't be. It like the petition that I saw, like, and Rod, this probably news to you as well, was that they wanted to make the esports games imitators of real world sports. So it'd be like FIFA.
Right.
You might as well go out and play football.
Well, that's the thing though. That's the boomer, I guess, argument of why esports shouldn't be a thing. But I would argue that it takes a different caliber of skill and a completely different like requirement of skill to play FIFA than it does to actually play football, right? Yeah. They're two completely different things. So Olympics should be a test of skill anyway. And as you said, in the very first Olympic Games, they had art. So you
know how that watercolor challenges going on in
so it doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to be a physical activity.
No, I mean, and to me, I would suggest, you esports have got a sense of strategy to them and a sense of
big time
thinking fast that is very similar to a lot of other a lot of other sports that you would have at the Olympic program anyway.
I mean, I remember having this conversation with you before. Like, a lot of esports athletes, I don't know what to call them, like esports gamers, like whatever, but like a lot of them have very strict diets. They have training regimens. They have all this stuff. Like they can't like just go, oh, I'm just gonna log on and play. Like they play for like 12 hours a day, like sometimes. Yeah. Like I mean, especially Koreans. Like
if it's like international as well, they would like go to like country, like different country, like to have boot camps as well. So like it is, I think it should be, but I think at the same time, I think it should have like its own category, like Olympics esports or something, maybe. Like,
well, I've got the Paralympics, Olympics, and then esports.
Yeah, exactly.
Olympics.
But the next Olympics, didn't it just get announced where it's going to be held? It's
so the next 3 are already lined up. So the next ones are in Paris in 24, then LA in 28, and then 32 is in Brisbane in Australia.
I mean, I remember reading that statistic of like everywhere the Olympics go, they kind of decimate the area in terms of fund and in economics. The country just kind of starts failing money wise.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to remember the Olympics cost billions and billions of pounds. So what they usually do is they don't just put it over to their old stadiums. They have to renovate, upgrade, add infrastructure for we're expecting millions and millions of people to come over. They also have to create sporting arenas for things that aren't national sports in their own countries.
Right.
So and that's where when London held the Olympics, it sort of bucked the trend because there are a lot of temporary venues. Like you and I went to the basketball when there was a test event.
Yeah, we did.
And that arena isn't there anymore because it was just packed down, recycled, and shipped off.
I was gonna actually bring up like London as an example because their whole I guess like what's the word, like their whole campaign, their ethos was sustainability.
Yeah.
Right. So like a lot of, I mean, the whole Olympic Park is still there. Like you can still go there now and see the Olympic Stadium, and I can't remember whose stadium it is. It's a football stadium, isn't it? West Ham.
West Ham.
Yeah. Like so, they have like they repurposed everything apart from the temporary buildings, right?
They basically used it as an excuse to redevelop and regenerate that entire swathe of land in East London that had been just barren wasteland for some time.
Which is clever, but we probably still lost money, right? On
absolutely,
yeah. And I'm pretty sure like some places like Athens, I even previously mentioned, probably still never recovered because they had the whole economic turmoil after.
There were some stories I've got where the Athens venues are still standing behind like these gates with chains on them, like in a state of disrepair, not even being used at all.
Oh my Lord.
It's really, really bad. I think you got London and some of the Beijing's venues are the only ones that are really sort of being
like
properly used and have been like integrated into the city, rather than just having like massive white elephants everywhere. So London used obviously temporary venues, but they use existing ones. So they use Lord's Cricket Ground for archery, Horse Guards Parade. They put a load of sand down, did beach volleyball there. They didn't need to create the stadiums; they had the space. They just created temporary stands.
Yeah, and I guess for a less developed country, or go on.
I was gonna ask, like, what about like Rio? Because they had to like build like a massive fence or something for like people not to like I don't know, just like move like a bunch of people to like a different area to just build the arena there.
Yeah,
they had a couple of existing ones, didn't they? I mean, they used the Stadium and some of the other venues, and they upgraded some of their existing ones, and that's what a lot of bids do now for. So a lot of the cities who bid now, they're very, very frightened about doing it because there's very often not a lot of public support, and there's not the money either.
Well, because Rio was like, apparently wasn't the rumors like that Rio was not even completed their stadiums like 2 weeks before the actual event started.
Yeah.
I heard about that.
The whole rigmarole around that.
It's like, oh my god, like the guy who's paying that. Oh my god.
Athens ran out of time to build a roof for their aquatic centre, so that was the first time since Barcelona that they had an open pool. They ran out. They were still apparently drying tarmac on the motorways the evening of the opening ceremony.
Oh my god.
Because it hadn't been laid.
Well, I mean, like the Olympics isn't any stranger to controversy, though. Like, I mean, from even Berlin, like fucking like Nazis, they had the Olympics during that time. I mean, it's one of the most iconic like photos of. Is it Jesse Owens? Jesse Owens. Like, yeah, with like the photo of him like triumphing over Nazis. Like, it's like it stems and it keeps happening. Like all these controversies all through time, but like we've landed on our ones, which is nowhere near comparable to that. But we've got some athletes, like I've read, that are being denied entry to the Olympics for one of them I read was for they used marijuana.
Yeah.
And they just weren't allowed to join the Olympics because of the drug. They failed the drug test, which is fair enough, right? But then the people that are the stands who are really annoyed about that argue that, well, there are some people who are going into this event or into this like massive global competitive scene taking hormone replacement therapy, which technically is boosting their performance because they're getting testosterone. So it's like, where are you drawing the line now? Because they're starting to become grey.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what you thought about that.
I mean, so there's some people who make the really like funny argument of just going, well, just let all the athletes dope.
Right, yeah.
See who gets fastest and all of that.
I mean, people argue that in cycling they do that anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, you'll often find as well, like the London Games, some medals are now being redistributed because of the doping
the cycling scandal, right? It was massive.
Yeah. That's why Russia aren't at the Olympics this year, is because they're still banned.
Yeah, well, they're not there. Like they're
not there.
Yeah. They're not allowed to be called Russia, I think is what it was.
Russian Olympic Committee, they called it. No fun, so looks like Russia, sounds like Russia, but it's not Russia, definitely not Russia. And yeah, apparently when they win gold medals, they don't play the Russian anthem, they just play Tchaikovsky.
Really? That's quite funny.
But yeah, it's difficult, and it's that whole idea of like it's the whole debate like inclusion versus fairness and what the parameters are. And I think a lot of the problems and the arguments. It's a very sensitive topic when we're talking about this side of things, especially if we're talking about the New Zealander transgender athlete who is entering weightlifting this year. Lauren Hubbard.
That hasn't happened yet, right? Or has the event happened?
I think she's due to be competing in the next couple of days.
Right. Okay.
I think the fear is from those who are, let's just say, not know too much about it, but I've just read the headline.
Yeah.
Is they just go, well, this lady was, a different gender, because of that, then that's an unfair disadvantage to the rest of the field competing, because she's definitely going to win a gold medal.
Right. Well, I don't even think she will, but...
Well, no, that's what I mean. I don't think that's a very fair assumption, and I don't think a lot of the topic that's been raised they've not actually sort of looked at the IOC guidelines and what rules the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, what they lay down in order for that person to compete.
Well, but like with the marijuana use, right? We're coming to a point now where it's legal in most of the states in America. It's legal across Europe in a lot of places. It's even illegal to grow. It's legal to grow in Iran, like of all places. You can actually grow it there. You just can't smoke it, and they're like, all right. But do you know what I mean? But she was disallowed to join because of a non-performance enhancing drug. It shouldn't. That's like saying you can't perform because you're having like something for mental health. She could have been having it for her mental anxiety or something. You don't know.
I guess it's about the image, maybe, and it's if you are a high top performing elite athlete and you are ingesting a substance which is illegal in a lot of countries, and maybe is perfectly legal in other ones, but is illegal in the other ones, then what example does that set?
But if it's legal where she comes from,
performance enhancing or not,
if it's legal where she comes from, though, I feel like that should matter, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, this is just what the other side is saying. This is not my opinion, but they're like, well, they've got testosterone hoffing like women out there who are basically gaining muscle mass to compete against other men or other women. So how comes one is okay to say you can use drugs, but the other one is not? Because one is for health, even though the other one is for health as well. So that's why I find that quite an interesting topic, though.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like
maybe testosterone isn't an illicit drug in some countries, unlike marijuana. That might be
I think you can't take it in like a man can't take it, right? Like a man can't take testosterone and then perform in the Olympics because it would be seen as performance enhancing. Because if I was to take testosterone and then go to the gym and work out a lot, I'd gain muscle mass.
Yeah.
So it's quite ironic, isn't it? Like in that regard.
Well, some athletes fail drug tests because the substance that is banned is in their inhalers for asthma.
Oh my god!
That's weird. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like the complete opposite. Like there's 2 Namibian women being banned for having too much testosterone.
Right, and they didn't even ingest anything. That was just born away.
They're just like what does it say about that then? If they just natural have high, then I don't know.
It's such a grey area.
I think it's less grey, more complex, and I think that's the problem. And I think there was this whole uproar a few years ago. Remember the South African athlete Caster Semenya, and people were convinced. Some people being really nasty about her and just basically saying, "Well, she's clearly
she should get tested for her gender.
That's really high testosterone. She needs a gender test because she's doing so well." And it turned out. I think it turned out that she just happened to have a higher level of testosterone as a woman than the average woman does. And I think a potential sort of solution that was suggested to her was that she take testosterone suppressing drugs to bring her levels down. And I don't, obviously, understandably, she was like, well, I'm not I'm not going to be too worried about doing that. I don't want to do that.
Are we coming to a weird place? Because you said it before, like in the sake of fairness, right? Are we coming to a weird place where, let's say in the first Olympics, right? If a man or a woman was born a certain way, with the advantages, they were taller, let's say, and they were bigger. Like there were some men that are just built different. they're bigger, right? would we now say actually you can't perform, you can't actually compete because you're too strong? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it seems like a weird thing. Like, this woman who had higher testosterone might have had the advantage, but that's just evolution, genetics, and the randomness of nature, right?
Of life, yeah.
Yeah, she is a better athlete, so she should win. Like, are we not going down that path?
So then, does the problem come from the fact that we genderize and we say there's a men's race and a women's race?
Yeah, probably.
Is it better just to go, well, let's divide everyone by their weight, or divide everyone by
I don't even think they should do that.
another metric?
Can we just have like who's the best and find out like who's the best and that's it? Like, you got weight classes for boxing and all that stuff, which is fine. I think that's fair because you're beating the shit out of somebody. Yeah. But when it comes to like football and stuff like that, like it's a sport where you're the best of the best. You need to be as good or better than the other person. So that's where we should be going and trying to find the best person there. And then they can multiply and we can have more strong babies. like stuff like that. I don't know. It's such a sticky like topic because it comes to a head when that person competes. I don't actually know the name of the weightlifter.
Hubbard.
Yeah, but when they compete, everyone and the world will be watching for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Now, and that's the problem. Like, if we do want to go to a place of inclusion, and we want to go to a place of like trying to allow anyone to compete, then we're now focusing on the wrong topics, and everyone's just gonna be like, are they gonna win? Are they gonna win? If they do win, it's a double-edged sword. If they do win, oh well, this is the problem. This is why we shouldn't have them, and then they feel like shit. If they don't win, this is why we should have them, like because they're clearly not the best. And they
still feel like shit.
Yeah, and they feel like shit. So, is that the only transgender person like competing?
I think there's anyone who's publicly been announced who is. I don't know of any others.
Right.
Okay. I may be wrong though.
Was like the sprinter, the one that smokes marijuana? Isn't she a transgender as well?
Is she? I didn't know.
Chakari Richardson?
I don't know. I have to fact check that one. I'm not too sure. That does bring me on to like, did you see that there was a picture of like the 3 Chinese athletes that are meant to be women? Have you seen that picture, James? That's going around. There's like 3 Chinese athletes that are doing like either long jump or something like that, or actually it would most likely be what's the baton one? Relay race. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But like they all look like like men, and when I say look like men, I don't mean like they do look like, and it's like I wouldn't put it past China to just send men and say they were women.
Did this not happen with Iran recently?
I think it did. I'm not sure.
In the football, where it was not in the Olympics, I don't think. I think it was outside of the Olympics.
Oh, where they disguised somebody, right?
Where people were disguised as a different.
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, there's a movie about that. I'm pretty sure. Like, but
I think
it's weird. Like, I mean, I don't know. China. Like, I really don't want China to win the Olympics, but like just because they have like a lot of, well, let's just say they have a lot of things. Like, but where are UK on the medal table?
They're currently in 6th, so they're not too bad.
And
they're not expecting to do as well as previous Olympics, but considering the last 2 have been the home games, and then last one was our best ever performance at Olympics ever, so it's going to be a hard nut to crack.
I mean, Rod was celebrating as well because the Philippines had their first gold medal.
Woo!
Only one. Only one. That's the shit it is.
What was it for? Was it table tennis or something?
No, weightlifting.
Weightlifting.
Women's weightlifting.
It seems to be where most small countries start for some reason. It's weightlifting, because then Iran started like popping off on weightlifting,
quite well on the weightlifting. Yeah,
which is quite surprising. Yeah, but I mean, we know with like previous podcasts as well that like Philippines, when was it Pacquiao, when Pacquiao boxes, like the whole country comes to a standstill. So I can't imagine what must have happened when Philippines picked up a gold medal.
They just got congratulatory from the president.
Oh, we're running out of time.
Yeah, that's literally it.
But yeah, like I was gonna say, like actually just to end the thing, because I just got to come up with a timer. We've got 10 minutes left. But do you think like the Olympics has lost its kind of like importance or spark like over the years, James?
I mean, I think if anything, it's probably grown in stature over the last decade in the UK, not least because of the fact that London was coming up over the last like few years. And I think it's always a real source of national pride anyway for us. Whether that's coming up in other countries, I don't know, but I find it often like leads the news, and it often leads people's moods and feelings during the years. So I think if anything, because we've got better at it over the years, we went from the period where like in the early 1900s, Britain was still part of an empire, so was able to win quite a lot of medals.
Yeah.
To then a dip sort of around the late century, and then rising again towards the 21st century. I don't think it has. And I think people still hold it in very high regard and high esteem, purely because of its fact of being able to say you're the best at something.
Because
maybe after London, I don't know.
That's what I would feel like, because I feel like a lot of people, at least people I talk to in my circle, the last 2 Olympics, people were like, "Oh my god, that started!" Like I didn't even know, and it's just like since London, like obviously you knew when the games were going on in London, but everywhere else, because of the time zone differences, I think that's what the key thing is.
That never helps.
Time zone. Yeah.
That might come again, like with Paris. That might help because it's insane. Well, 1 hour.
I mean,
Tokyo is really that part of the world is really hard to have it in, because it's like you've got to deal with the fact that most of the stuff will happen overnight in the UK. Yeah. And the last 3 Olympics, in the winter and the summer ones, have all been in that part of the world. So you had Pyeongchang in 2018, the Winter Games. And then obviously 16 was Rio, but then the next Winter Games are in Beijing. Right. So they'll all be in the world where it's really hard to actually to get to watch things live.
Any final questions for you, Rod, that you want to ask?
Really? I think I'm pretty good. I was just mostly spaced out.
Yeah, he's learning all about the Olympics today.
Yeah, I mean, I just got hit by it. I was like, all right.
It's like BMX.
Damn.
But I want to thank you for joining us, James.
Yep, thank you.
No worries.
And if in the next 4 years you can come back. No, we're gonna have you on for more of a personal discussion, I guess. But yeah, like that's been Strange Origins podcast. Like, remember to like, subscribe, share with friends, comment.
Yep, all the good stuff.
And I guess I could put your socials if you want in the description, James. That is not wrong.
Yeah, why not? Followers.
But yeah, thank you for joining us, and peace. Bye.